Hey everyone, my name's Omar. I'm a writer. I live in the woods just south of Portland, Oregon, and that's where I'm recording this video from today. Um, in the before times, I generally split my time between Canada and the US, but over the last 18 months we've been locked out here, unable to go anywhere, and slowly reenacting the entirety of The Shining. It is such a pleasure to be recording this video. And the reason I'm recording this video is because I've had the very good fortune of having my new novel selected by Shelf Life as their August book of the month. The novel is called What Strange Paradise, and it just came out. And before I tell you anything about it or do a short reading, I just want to say how grateful I am to Shelf Life, not only for selecting this book, but for existing. I owe pretty well the entirety of my career to independent bookstores, and there are very, very few businesses that so reliably make their neighborhoods better. So please, even if at the end of this you listen to my reading and you decide you want nothing to do with this book, please buy as many books as you can from places like Shelf Life. And not that other place. I don't know if Shelf Life is trying to send the owner of the company to the moon, but I doubt they are, and that money of yours is better spent on them. So with that aside, this is What Strange Paradise. It's my new book. It is a repurposed fable of sorts. It's the story of Peter Pan recast as the tale of a contemporary child refugee. A migrant ship crashes just off the shore of an unnamed western island. The sole survivor is a 9-year-old boy named Amir, and the chapters alternate between what happens once he shows up on this island and everything that led to him being on this island. So you go back and forth between those two points of view. It is a book I started thinking about a long time ago, 2012, I believe, in the early days of what would become the Syrian migrant crisis and the general migrant crisis across the Mediterranean. I've been working on it for a few years, and the final editing happened during sort of COVID lockdown. It was a very odd time to be doing anything, let alone sort of putting a novel together. So if you'll indulge me, I'll just read you the first couple of pages of this book, which begins with that scene on the island and the shipwreck. The child lies on the shore. All around him, the beach is littered with the wreckage of the boat and the wreckage of its passengers. Shards of decking, knapsacks cleaved and gutted, bodies frozen in unnatural contortion. Dispossessed of nightfall's temporary burial, the dead ferment indecency. There's too much of spring in the day, too much light. Face down with his arms outstretched, the child appears from a distance as though playing at flight. And so too in the bodies that surround him, though distended with seawater and hardening, there flicker the remnants of some silent levitation, a severance from the laws of being. The sea is tranquil now, the storm is past. The island, despite the debris, is calm. A pair of plump, orange-necked birds, stragglers from a northbound flock, take rest on the lamppost from which hangs one end of a police cordon. In the breaks between the wailing of the sirens and the murmur of the onlookers, they can be heard singing. The species is not unique to the island, nor the island to the species, but the birds, when they stop here, change the pitch of their songs. The call is an octave higher, a sharp, throat-scraping thing. In time, a crowd gathers near the site of the shipwreck, tourists and locals alike. People watch. The eldest of them, an arthritic fisherman driven in recent years by plummeting cherubfish stocks to kitchen work at a nearby resort, says that it's never been like this before on the island. Other locals nod because even though the history of this place is that of violent endings, of galleys flipped over the axis of their oars and fishing skiffs tangled in their own netting, and once during the war, an empty Higginslander sheared to ribbons by shrapnel, the old man is still, in his own way, right. These are foreign dead. No one can remember exactly when they first started washing up along the eastern coast, but in the last year it has happened with such frequency that many of the nations on whose tourists the island's economy depends have issued travel advisories. The hotels and resorts, in turn, have offered discounts. Between them, the Coast Guard and the morgue keep a partial count of the dead. And as of this morning, it stands at 1,026, but this number is as much an abstraction as the dead themselves are to the people who live here, to whom all the shipwrecks of the previous year are a single shipwreck, all the bodies a single body. 3 officers from the municipal police force pull a long strip of caution tape along the breadth of the walkway that leads from the road to the beach. Another 3 wrestle with large sheets of blue boat cover canvas, trying to build a curtain between the dead and their audience. In this way, the destruction takes on an air of queer unreality, a stage play bled of movement, a fairy tale upturned. The officers, all of them young and impatient, manage to tether the fabric to a couple of lampposts, from which the orange-necked birds whistle and flee. But even stretched to near tearing, the canvas does little to hide the dead from view. Some of the onlookers shuffle awkwardly to the far end of the parking lot, where there's still an acute line of sight between the draping and 4 television news trucks. Others climb on top of parked cars and sweep their cameras across the width of the beach, some with their backs to the carnage, their own faces occupying the center of the recording. The dead become the property of the living. Oriented as they are, many of the shipwrecked bodies appear to have been spat up landward by the sea, or of their own volition to have walked out from its depths and then collapsed a few feet later, except the child. Relative to the others, he is inverted, his head closest to the lapping waves, his feet nestled into the warmer, lighter sand that remains dry even at highest tide. He is small, but somewhere along the length of his body marks the sea's furthest reach. A wave brushes gently against the child's hair. He opens his eyes. So that's the first few pages of What Strange Paradise. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't, I'm very easy to find. You can send me angry emails. But I'm so appreciative of this. And thank you all for watching this.